Welcome, everybody, to the podcast here. We are live on our vlog today, and today we've got with us Derek Rasmussen from Insurance Unlimited. We're going to kick it off with a joke today. So we've got a lawyer and an insurance agent walk into a recording studio. Derek, stop me if you've heard this one before.
Keep going.
Okay, good. So, Derek, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for letting me be here.
All right, so Derek and I have known each other for quite a while, and we've worked with each other a lot, so we're going to try and keep this entertaining and not so boring like our lives really are as lawyers and insurance agents. So hopefully we're going to bring some great new information to everybody today in how to make sure, number one, your business is properly insured, that your life is properly insured around your business. And then we're going to do a little deeper dive with Derek into his business and some difficulties he's had, some great learning lessons, and, of course, his amazing wife, Bailey, and how she ever puts up with him because she works in the business with him. And it's got to be a challenge, right, Derek? Because you're around your wife 24/7, not getting that break. So we're really excited to learn how you and Bailey kind of balance that work-life schedule that you guys have, and your two wonderful kids, who Derek always likes to have in the car with me on the speakerphone, and Derek has learned not to ever do that one again, but he at least gives me the heads up these days, folks, before he does that setup. So, Derek, let's get right into it. What's new in the insurance world?
You know, there's a lot of changes going on right now. I mean, besides rates and everything else that seems to keep going up on a couple of these companies, but you know, we have a couple of these storms and stuff like that you know are really hitting billings, and it does kind of drive up some of those rates. You have some of the companies who are changing from your standard deductible over to a percentage deductible. Usually that percentage reflects based off of your dwelling value. And so it's basically a way that a lot of these companies are trying to find ways to keep the costs down or keep the claims down as much as possible, but still be there for their insureds.
So if I'm starting up a new business, what's some of the first things I should be doing? I mean, I know from the way I coach my clients when they come in is I always tell them, look, you got to have the 4 legs of your stool when you're starting up a business. You've got to have your attorney, you've got to have your accountant, got to have your insurance person, and you got to have your financial advisor. Well, when I send somebody to you and you're then coaching them on the various insurance aspects, what are some of the first things you're telling them?
You know, definitely we like to start out with, you know, usually meeting with that first time business owner and really kind of going through what they're doing and kind of review, you know, who are you working with, you know, who is a part of your team, you know, if it is a referral, that kind of helps build a little bit of knowledge and some background for us as far as, you know, who obviously is kicking them over, what they're doing. If it's somebody Joel sent over, we are a little concerned. No, I'm just joking. But but no, it's really just we like to review you know, what they're doing and really kind of get everything honed in. We are an independent agency, so we do go out to multiple different markets. We're not a captive, so we don't sell just one product, which benefits people, I believe, because we are able to truly shop and find that best price as well as the best coverage, because there is some differences in the coverages depending on the carrier.
So what are some of the coverages that are most important when you're starting a business?
You know, it depends on definitely what type of business you have. But, I mean, if you're a contractor, you know, the general liability is definitely a big aspect of it. If you're doing something regarding a lawyer, professional type business, definitely your errors and omissions type coverage is really a big part. Everybody needs auto, home, but some things that they don't look at is, you know, what are your liability limits? How much coverage do you have? What are your deductibles? What are basically you responsible for before the carrier steps in? Those are all questions sometimes you need to ask.
And I presume that those coverages and those deductibles vary between different insurance agencies or different carriers. Is that correct?
They do, and you definitely want to look at that and make sure that your agent has the time to sit down and go through those coverages, your deductibles, and what would happen if you do have a claim. You want to make sure that the carrier that you are with can actually pay the claim. So, yeah.
Excellent. So then once I'm up and going, right, a lot of times we're just running our businesses. We don't have time to think about our insurance. So how do you handle that? How do you make sure that you're covering your clients?
We do have some really good checklists that we use with a lot of our clients that basically will go through the other coverages that are available or out there. As you grow as an individual, let's say that you bring on, some kids or new drivers, there is certain aspects that you need to address and kind of review at that period of time. Do you just got married? Do you need life insurance? Joel needs a lot of life insurance. So, but
yeah, that's mainly because Derek, like everybody else who knows me, believes that my wife's probably doing me in at some point.
I didn't want to say anything, but on the way in, Joel almost got hit a couple of times by people swerving. I mean, it's amazing they were going up on the sidewalk like that. That was awesome.
There it is.
We're going to take a quick break here to our sponsors. We've got Social Flicks, our man on the camera, Woody, who's taking over the company because the current owner is not so good. Oh, wait, nope. The current owner, Brad Ouldhouse, he's here on the mic if you haven't noticed. He's new to the studio with us. He's jumping on to keep things lively and interesting because he says a lawyer is not so exciting, and I keep trying to prove him wrong, but I think I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah, I was just going to say we had a lot of energy when we came in, and then you jumped right into what's new in insurance, Derek. And then Derek's like, we have these checklists. And I'm over here going, screw that, man. I want to know who you are first, right? Like, I want. Let me tell you something. I want your knowledge, and we're going to talk about this in this podcast, and I'm super excited. But before we get into that, I want to know who you are, right? Why are you here in this podcast studio? What gives you the expertise to be in here? You know what I mean? Like, you're running a business. Are you local? Like, tell me who Derek Rasmussen is.
See, this is the difference between Brad and I, by the way. I'm like, I want to get right down to business. I want to know what I need to know and get me out.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Brad's like, no, you seem like a really cool guy. I want to learn about you a little bit. And I'm like, no, give me the goods. So let's hear about you, because I'm clearly not the guy you want to be listening to.
Well, and I think everybody probably fell asleep as soon as they said lawyer and insurance. So I think everybody kind of already is out anyways. But as far as why are we here today, Joel just threatened enough people apparently that we're all here. So no, I've been in insurance for roughly 12 years. My family's always been in insurance, so I mean we've been in insurance for a long, long time, and it is we do run an independent insurance agency, which means kind of the difference between us and a captive is we have multiple different carriers that we go to, versus a captive only has one. We handle pretty much most all lines of business and insurance except for health insurance. You couldn't pay me enough to do or deal with the health insurance stuff anymore. So that is one avenue that we've stayed out of. We have a smaller independent agency. I do work with my wife. She does help me out. She keeps me in line most of the days. But I mean, I know insurance is obviously one of those things that nobody really wants to talk about, kind of about like your lawyer. But it is one of those things that it is fun. It is fun for me. It's one of those things where we get to see an individual grow. We get to help them out. We get to kind of nurture them a little bit as far as, their insurance needs. And it's exciting to watch that business owner who walks in at day one and it's just him. And as he grows and he can get up to, say, 60 employees, and just watching him and everything that transpires in his life, and it's just, you're a part of it. And, for me, when I walk into a lot of businesses that we work with, you feel really happy and excited for them, and you get to see how they're growing, and it's almost like you really are a part of their business. So
did Bailey understand what she was signing up for when she married you?
Oh, no, that poor woman. No, she's been awesome. And we do work together, and we do have 2 kids. So, I mean, Titus and Elsa, our little girl, she's 5, and our son is 11. He's getting ready to go into middle school. So that builds another fun aspect to everything these days. So, yeah.
Well, and I notice day in and day out how you guys balance each other. And a lot of it to me seems to be that you've bifurcated what you do in the business and you don't micromanage each other. Is that a fair analysis?
Well, I mean, she does have to micromanage me a lot. I mean, most everybody does. No, we do. We definitely are the strengths to each other. We do work very, very well together. It's surprising. We are a very lucky couple. Most couples cannot work together, and I've seen that. And it's pretty funny, but we do. We work so well together, and we're doing different things within the business that it really does. The customers love it, and of course they like her more than me, but they do. It's a fun time. So
yeah, that's a given, and I stand behind that statement.
Yeah. Well,
we usually don't call for Derek. Everybody calls for Bailey.
Yep. And then she just passes him off. She's like, "Hey, it's that lawyer Joel again. Would somebody talk to him?"
So I want to jump in on this because this is a really interesting topic. So is this something that you guys kind of had to grow and work on together after the marriage? Or were there indications inside of that dating relationship that said, hey, we'd actually work well together? So how did all that work out?
No, I think if we were to start out, especially in the dating part, and just said, hey, I'm in insurance, I want you to come join and work with me, that would have been the last date, to be very honest with you.
Not such a turn on for
no, apparently
for dating,
it's
huh?
no, it just doesn't do it apparently. So, but no, I mean, as far as we really did, we started dating, and then she's actually a nurse, and probably about 3 years ago, I purchased the agency and took it over actually from my father. At that period of time, we kind of reviewed everything and kind of where we were at. And she agreed that it definitely was time for her to come on and micromanage me definitely a little bit more. So, but no, I mean, it was having her come on was by far the best thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, she is definitely the organizational person in the office.
She is, she comes back from, especially the nursing side of things. So the documentation and her attention to detail is amazing. And she's a very brilliant woman.
That's just fantastic. So when you take over the agency or you buy out your parents, what were some of the difficulties in that? Because you're dealing with family, right? I mean, that's got to be a challenge in and of itself. in that if it was just you and I, right, there's no emotion in it. But when it's family that you're trying to buy out, that's a pretty sensitive balance, isn't it?
It is. I mean, let's be honest. If I would have been buying it from you, Joel, I would have been even probably more scared and more concerned. But I mean, truthfully, it does. It brings on another aspect because, when you do buy a business, there is a lot of aspects to it. Most people that are purchasing an auto or a home or anything like that get a small taste of what it is because when you're purchasing a business, that's your income. That is what drives you day to day. And truthfully, it's where most people spend more of their time. You spend more time typically at your business than you ever do at home or in your auto or anything like that. Or if you're Joel, it's on his boat fishing. But the rest of us, we work very hard. So it does. It brings in an aspect of when you are, there's that added stress. And it really does because then it's not simply by the numbers. It really just reflected back to, this is how I feel in a relationship type of deal. And it does. It adds another part of stress to it. So having the right team, and the right people behind you or beside you really makes a difference. And, luckily, we had, the bank that we dealt with, even legal teams. Just make sure you have that buffer in between you and the people that you're buying it from, I guess.
So then what would probably be the single biggest piece of advice you could give to somebody when they're going in to buy a business that they need to make sure they cover?
Every business that you're buying is going to be a little bit different. We see this a lot in the insurance side because we help a lot of business people out. But, depending on the business, the biggest side is really look at the big picture. Look at, buying this, how is it going to affect my life? Financially, how is it going to affect my life? And then making sure that, you kind of said that in the beginning, but having the right team alongside you or beside you is a big deal. And you do want that legal representation. You do want that tax advisor that's going to be able to look at those books and say, hey, there's something hidden here, or there was something that you were unaware of, that, really make sure that you have everything examined. Now,
you're one of the few people that I see that every day comes to work with the next level of energy. And I mean, you're constantly laughing. You have tons of energy. Other than right now, you kind of look like Eeyore. No offense.
Well, you drain it. You drain it out of us, buddy.
It's the way I start with my great questions right at the beginning. Yeah, exactly. So, Eeyore. But with that, how do you maintain that in your business? How do you maintain that in your life every day? Because that kind of energy is infectious.
When we first got into this, and I do believe, I believe in what I do. I generally do this to help out people, and I believe that's what I'm doing. I did tell my wife that if it ever got to the point where I felt like I wasn't helping people anymore, or I wasn't doing it for a greater presence, I guess, in a sense, doing it for someone besides myself or my business, and it wasn't benefiting the people out there, I told her if that ever gets to that point, we kind of have this agreement that I would be done. And that's really what it is. So every day when I get to come to work, I know insurance is not what everybody gets jacked about, but I do. I love dealing with the customers. I love hearing about how they're doing. Ways that we can help them or improve them. I mean, there was one account, to give you an example, that after reviewing everything that they had going on, we saved them over $30,000 a year. And the look on that owner's face going, and we actually gave them better coverage too. So that was the funny part. But just seeing what that can do in that business and the growth potential that they have and what they could apply that towards, it's just amazing to see.
So what you're telling me is, from your desire to help people every day, and if you don't have it, you'd want to get out, that we should really be talking to Brad about what he's doing.
Right. Well, and we're all concerned about your stuff there too, Joel. So.
Well, I'm hanging by a thin thread, but Brad, come on, let's be honest.
What are we talking about here?
Having passion, Brad. Passion. Yeah. Bring the passion to this thing.
I have some. Okay, but let me dive into that just a little further if I could, Joel. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, do you have a morning routine maybe? What kicks off your day? What ends your day? Kind of, what does that routine look like so that your energy level stays consistent throughout the week?
Definitely, right now, definitely coffee is a good starter. But
Truth. Did you hear that, podcasters, video watchers, blog readers?
I would disagree. I don't believe in the coffee thing.
Which is why people don't talk to you.
He's also a Grizz fan, so...
Yeah, we're really concerned about that, too.
Right? 'Cause sprinkles are for winners. Sprinkles are for winners. Just you guys remember that.
Oh, my gosh. No, as far as my day and everything, I do like to get up early. I like to be there before anybody else is at the office. It's kind of my time to... I like getting the office opened up, getting the coffee going, making sure everything's ready to go for the day. Definitely making sure. And then usually I like checking in with my kids. I know they're, our little girl's headed to, daycare, and then, my son would be heading to school and stuff like that. And, just making sure they're a big part of my life too. And I I really do. I bring my kids in. Titus, our son, will actually do some minor work around the office, and I mean, take out garbage, little things like that. But I want him to feel like it's a comfortable place to come, because that's what it is for us. Is it's, our customers and the people we're doing business with, we are who we are. And, and everybody seems to like that a little bit. So, I mean, they don't go to Joel's office for some reason, but no.
It's because Spencer ate all the candy.
Yes.
We'll just blame it on
That could be
him.
it.
Sorry, Joel, can I ask one more follow-up?
Yeah.
Because I want to stay on this track here.
Mm-hmm.
You said your son coming into the office and helping out, and so that really gives him an early look into what business ownership really is, which sounds like something you have experience in as well. So this almost kind of sounds like a legacy kind of thing. Does the move kind of have a little bit of that twist to it a little bit too, maybe? Something to kind of show them a peek behind the curtain, so to speak?
And I do. You want to give your kids as many experiences as possible. And trust me, insurance is not the number one thing I want him to look at. But as far as, I want him to feel comfortable, and I want him to see how you interact with people, because I really feel like customer service is truthfully kind of starting to go away in some aspects anymore, which is really sad. And that's one thing that, we really strive to. I mean, it doesn't mean, we always get back to people as fast as we can, but when you pick up the phone, you want to talk to a live person anymore. And I feel like that's kind of starting to go away. So it's important to us, and to me especially, that, when my son is there at the office, that, if he sees one of the customers, he'll go over and he'll shake their hand. He looks in their eyes and tells them, hey, how's it going? I'm Titus. I'm taking out this, or I'm dealing with this. And yeah, I mean, there's other days when it's a lot of snow out, and he'll come help me shovel on a weekend or something like that too.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you say that you're seeing this lack in customer service, give me some examples, and how do you work with your team to make sure that you don't see that in your office?
It is one thing that we really push, and there is times, I mean, as every business owner knows too, where that phone will be ringing off the hook, or there's a line of 12 people that all decided to take off that time during lunchtime to come in. But it's really making sure that everybody feels like they are getting that service, that they're making that connection. I mean, to us, it is important, because, they're bringing in, and they want us to protect them, or they have a concern that they want to address, whether that's trying to save a little bit more money or reviewing their financial information. So it's really just, we want to make sure that we have that connection with them, and make sure that they know that they are important. And I don't care if you're spending $1,000 a year or you're spending over $1 million a year. With us, you're always important. And that is one avenue that we really try to strive, is it doesn't matter what you are or what you're doing. We're happy that you're a part of our business as well.
So what are some of the ways that you and your team go about making people feel important?
We definitely always try to address them. We try to ask them usually, how's their day going? Basically try to find out a little more about them, and if there's something important, we always try to make sure there's a note in their file that, hey, this is something that's really important to them, or, something that we like to talk to them about. So, yeah.
And then in working with your team to do this, are you constantly monitoring how they're dealing with customers and clients? How do you make sure that's being followed up in your office? How do you hold people accountable?
We do. It is something where I believe we are a team. I mean, I truly do. And it doesn't matter if you talk to me or anybody else in the office, you're going to get the same response. And that's something where it's kind of been a transition from how it used to be in the past. One person would do one job, let's say quoting or writing a person, and the other person would never pick up the phone. And so that's something that, to me, it's really having those meetings. And, we do have some tracking devices, as far as, not on you, Joel, don't worry. But it is just, we track the progress of, what we're writing, what we're doing, what we're seeing out there, the products that are, being asked for the most at that period of time, as well as if we do lose anybody or something. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we just are unable to help somebody more than what another insurance company might. We do pride ourselves, and if we can't help you out, we will refer you to somebody that we believe will be able to help you out. And we will be the first ones. If we can't help you or it's not going to make sense for you to move, I will be upfront and tell you that, you know what, I think it'd be better just stay where you're at. And that's something that just goes back to, I'm not in this. I mean, all of us obviously are in this to make money. I mean, I'll be very upfront about that. But at the end of the day, if that becomes my only focus, then it is time for me to be done. And that's truly what I believe. If I am not helping people and I'm not having a good time doing it, I need to be done.
What are some fun things you do to make it enjoyable so that you are having fun at what you do?
You know, I truly like to talk with our customers. I mean, when they come in, I give them a hard time. It's kind of funny, even our mail guy, when he comes in, you know, he, no matter what or how his day's been going, he likes to come over and just joke with us a little bit. You know, I believe in, you know, if you're not directly right on the phone, stand up, go talk to your customer, you know, see how they're doing. Ask them how that new car that they just bought is, you know, or if you see something, or how's business going? What are you seeing? Because learning about them and how their business is going just makes us that much better. I mean, it really does, because we're caring. And then there will always be that instance where, oh yeah, you know, I was out on my boat. What boat? Oh, well, I just bought it. Well, do you think we should cover it? Oh yeah, I was supposed to come in and talk to you. I think my wife was saying something about that. So yeah.
It's funny. I was reading a book on hospitality, and they had done a study on how waiters and waitresses could increase their tips by doing different activities. One of the things that they did is they had waiters and waitresses mirror the customer to try and improve the connection between the waiter and waitress and the customer. And they actually found, by just mirroring them, by just repeating to them what they said, right? When the waitress or waiter would walk up and say, "How was your day?" And they'd say, "Oh, it was fantastic." "Oh, so you had a fantastic day?" "Yeah, I did. I had a great day." "Oh, really? What'd you do?" Right? Just by that simple interaction between the customer and the waiter or waitress, their tips went up by over 20%. By just making that connection, which is right in line with what you're saying, is asking the simple questions. What's new in their lives? How's everything going? Is anything changing? How's your family? Right? Mm-hmm. Those little connection things all of a sudden creates a new connection back to you. And in your example, all of a sudden you find out, oh, our client has a new boat and we don't know it and it's not on their insurance sheet. We better get them protected.
Well, and the big thing that we need to always remember too is, you know, we live in a smaller town. I mean, truthfully, we do. And everybody knows everybody. And it's really just that customer service has to be there. And people want to feel like they are important. They deserve to feel that they are important, I believe. And so we go as much as we can and go out of our way to try to do that. There is, obviously, we stay within our guidelines as far as what we're doing as a business. But, you know, if I have the extra time, I want to jump up and go find out what you're up to, or, you know, how did that job go, you know. And it's kind of funny, some of the stories that you'll hear sometimes. But, yeah.
Excellent. So I had a really bad question, and thank heavens I thought it through before I asked the really bad question. That's a rarity, Derek. I know you're not used to that, because Derek's just used to hearing everything come out of my mouth, regardless of who's within earshot. So
that is very true. There's a reason I take you off a speakerphone in the vehicle and the kids are in the back seat. It is very true. That is a true story.
So how does Bailey put up with you day in and day out? What does she do? What's her routine for her to stay happy about life? Because we all know you in my world. My team knows you, and we all ask the same question. We just don't know. She's got to be like the happiest person on the planet to do this day in and day out.
Well, you know, we do belong to a wine club, so let's start with that. So, no, she's an amazing woman. I mean, I am very, very lucky in the fact that we're able to work together it's obviously we work really well together. There will come up that one time here and there, obviously, where, the stress does build up. I mean, we're in insurance, and that's the reason why you have to be able to laugh about certain things, just like I'm sure being in the law firm. I mean, stress does come up. I mean, always. You're dealing with money, you're dealing with losses. And I mean, some of those claims, even though, we're not directly in it, we feel for our customers sometimes because they're going through a situation that is stressful. And sometimes that comes off a little bit too. And, so really just, sometimes it's really just her and I will take that time at the end of the day to try to just decompress and talk about things. And we have to have that time. So, send the kids out to the neighborhood to go play with the other kids or something so that her and I do have that time to talk about that situation. And, really at the end of the day, you have to just let it go. You really do. And I guess that's the best thing that I could probably advise any business owner is it's important to follow up and do what's right. But if you let that stress get to you, it will eat you away. You have to let it go. You have to have that faith that things are going to be taken care of and that you have the right people looking over you.
So how do you let it go? What are some of your tricks of the trade to just letting it go, or is that your personality?
No, it's definitely not. I mean, I used to take things a lot more serious, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, but it finally got to that point where, my wife and I actually did have that conversation, and I needed to let stuff go a little bit more. And really it became about, I do obviously like to work out. So, I mean, that is one thing, whether it's lifting weights or doing something, but also taking the focus off of me, I think is the other side, putting it back to what I'm doing, or especially our kids, that family time. It's really about, that's the easiest trick, I guess, honestly, that I learned. And I wish I would have learned it earlier on, is take the focus off yourself sometimes and put it back to somebody else. How can I help an individual out? How can I help them out? Or go and hang out with your kids. Ask them about how their day is going. I mean, the quickest way to release that and get rid of that out of your mind, or no matter what's going on, is to ask your kids, because it is hilarious the different responses you're going to get out of your kids from, the 5-year-old will say one thing, and the middle schooler is going to say something completely different. And so it's one way or another, honestly, it's just, they make me laugh. And then we have a black lab as well, and her name's Pearl. She is hilarious. She will honestly play catch until you physically can't throw the ball anymore. So, I mean, worst case scenario, if you need a workout, I guess, and just go out there and throw the ball until, she tells you to stop. So, and then we do have a cat, Jasmine, and she's a pretty funny cat too. So everybody in our family is really funny, which is great. I mean, we obviously all have our moments, but you gotta laugh about things. You really do. So
were you and Bailey dating when you bought the insurance firm, or?
No, at that period of time, I was managing it at that period of time. And we had a different location as well at that period of time. That was over in Bozeman, which my brother ended up actually taking over. But we started out dating, and I was just simply working there. And then it changed, and I basically asked her to come on and help me out. And as Joel would say, basically micromanage me. So, which she does.
Because she's a good detail person.
Very, very, very.
So how do you balance that? I mean, that had to be a whole stressful event, and in and of itself is buying your parents' business while dating someone and then bringing them in. I mean, that creates its own level of stress, doesn't it?
It does. We hit the ground running, honestly, since her and I met each other. I mean, shortly we met each other, and truthfully, right about 6 months later, we actually were married. So that's one thing a lot of people don't know about me. But it was, I mean, Bailey really came into my life, and we just instantly hit it off, and we've worked so well together through so many things in our life. It's unbelievable. And the stresses of buying a business, Obviously having kids, that's a whole different deal. And then, buying houses, changing things up. We even threw in going through an audit. That was a great, fun experience too. So, I mean, just all that stuff. I mean, we hit it all. So, I mean, it really was. It's from day one, she's just been there. And it's been, we truly are each other's best friends, and we truly enjoy each other's company.
That's excellent. And so how do you then bring her in, keeping the balance of things? How does she balance it? How do you balance it? Mm-hmm. Right? Because that's a pretty tough line to walk for most people.
Yeah. And even though we are a team at the insurance agency, and we all can do the same thing in a sense, as far as, the answers or research stuff, find you what you're looking for. My specialty is definitely one side of things. It's definitely dealing with people. I mean, I like to talk to people, minus Joel. I don't know why he came here, but no, at the end of the day, I do. I like dealing with people and talking with people. And truthfully, on her side, she really does. She goes through more of the managing, the business side of things and the numbers and that side of thing, the documentation, more of that side. So side that I kind of truly fall asleep on sometimes, but no.
So if I were looking to buy a business, mm-hmm. give me some advice on things to really pay attention to so I don't screw things up at the beginning. Right, because we all have those learning lessons when we go start out. I know I had mine. Mm-hmm. What were some of yours?
Well, if you were going to buy a business, I'd be a little concerned to begin with, too. And you could talk to Silverman Law Office. They have some great advice on some things, but...
just not Joel.
Yeah.
It's call the front desk and just don't ask for Joel. I know his name is on the side of the building.
No.
Silverman Law Office. Yeah, let me speak to Kathy.
Joe. Remember, Joe is different than Joel. He's got it.
No, all jokes aside, I mean, truthfully, if you're going to buy a business, really, you need to surround yourself with the right team, and you really need to prepare yourself. Each business is going to be different, and it's going to have obstacles and things that you're definitely going to have to overcome. But really, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're grounded and that you're mentally prepared for jumping into something like this. And as much as you might think you are, you're not going to be. So really finding a way that, and finding the area in your business that you love and where you're going to be that best person for your business, for your team, because really at the end of the day, yes, it's your business, but really you're there to help people and to help out growing your business. And that's really what it's about. So really surrounding yourself with the right team. Let's jump back to that. Definitely I believe, one obstacle that we all come across really is going to be taxes. I mean, you talk about falling asleep on insurance and a lawyer. I mean, let's throw a tax person in here and we might as well cut this thing off for the day. So, but really it comes back to, there is some aspects in that you really need to review, and you need to have a really good CPA on your side. I cannot stress that enough. That's one lesson that we learned later on, and it was amazing finding, obviously the CPA that we did. Having a good business lawyer is something else that, depending on the business that you have, there is going to be questions that you are going to have regarding legal things, as well as even setting up the proper corporation. And you need to be aware of that. So starting out your business, depending on what you're doing, you might need to have a certain type of corporation that's going to save you a lot more money. Well, you're going to need a good business attorney, truthfully, kind of sitting on your side. Having a there's that a foam pad wall there.
Please tell me we got that on camera. We need to get out of here. So that's the punchline, Woody. What happens when an insurance agent and a tax lawyer go into a podcast studio? The walls start falling off.
Yeah.
We literally bored the glue off the wall. I believe my life life just hit a new low, Derek.
That was
and you were
fantastic.
part of it.
Well, I was going to say, isn't there a button up there where it said how many people we started with? And I think we're down to, how can you get to a 0.5? I mean, that's...
It's a question of whether or not there's a pulse left.
Right.
Poor guy.
But, no.
Yeah, so being grounded is probably one of the most challenging things in being a business owner. I work with so many different business owners day in and day out. I was just on a coaching call with one of my clients, and it's funny to say a coaching call because that's what it is. It was not at all a legal call, not operational. This was like psychology call because we get into business and we forget about the psychology part. We forget about the laughing, the smiling, the making it fun, that it's not just the end goal you're shooting for. It's the journey, the process, right? So that part about being grounded, I mean, you're talking about your kids, keeping you grounded, your pets. Although the cat thing really surprised me coming out of you because you always give me so much grief from my cats. So, but you have to have those things outside the office that do allow you to let go because otherwise you drive yourself crazy, right? What was it when you first started out that allowed you to just kind of let go of it at times? I mean, you think back those, because I know it was only, 2-3 months ago?
That's what it feels like. It's kind of a blur. It really is sometimes. But, I guess it kind of goes back to, even having that team when you're going through stuff. And to be honest with you, a part of that team for me was my wife. I wanted that person to be able to talk to, because burning up the phone with Joel late at night is just not fun. But really, no, at the end of the day, I mean, we had that agreement and I'm brutally honest with her and she is with me. We have everything's out on the table with her and I, and it has to be in order for everything to work. There is no secrets between her and I. Everything we go through and talk about really is just right in the open. And I think having that honesty is a crucial part of how we were able to go through some of the stuff that we did. So
I'm glad you raised that because I was sitting with a client recently and I asked him that question. How much do you talk to your spouse about your business? And he said, not at all. And that floored me because I couldn't imagine running my business without talking and bouncing things off my wife. And it's not that my wife lives my business with me like yours does, but having that other person to bounce things off, if it's a friend, a spouse, somebody who's going to give you another perception of what's happening in your world, because we put the blinders on. Let's face it, we all do it, other than Brad. Brad sees the world perfectly. He's dang near omnipotent.
Yeah, I'm kind of an anomaly.
But I just, that floored me when that client said, yeah, I don't talk to my spouse about anything in my business. And it literally shocked me so much I didn't say anything back because I couldn't have imagined it in that sense.
Well, and that's got to be tough too. I mean, truthfully, everybody is their own and everybody handles things differently. But just looking at the other side of that, if you come home and you're stressed out because you're dealing with something so big at work and you don't have that person to talk to, they're not going to understand why you're just so uptight and just, having that bad day. And, and then it reflects on, it drags into your family life and your kids and your dog, or in Joel's sense, his cats. And, just everybody has a bad day. So.
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Sweet. We're going to just kind of change gears, if that's okay. I'm dying to ask you this. So drum roll, Joel. I'm just kidding. There's two questions actually that I really want. I'm sorry. I'm pilfering
you only
your
get
podcast.
one.
All right. Yeah, so I'll ask them both at once. Did you give me a piece of advice for an entrepreneur outside of insurance help, right? What is something that is, a young up-and-coming entrepreneur or old up-and-coming entrepreneur, somebody new to business, give them some advice not pertaining to insurance. And second, give me one or two of your favorite resources that you either like to listen to, read, or consume content. Go.
As far as basically starting out in a new business, or as far as, something that nobody else has done, or if somebody is already have one, really just check the marketplace. Make sure of whatever you're going to get into, review that market. Find out, is it something that consumers want? Because at the end of the day, is there a need? Is there a want? I mean, it really kind of goes back to that. So, and the other part is truthfully, and I believe this part of it is, if you're not going to like it, you don't always have to love it, but if you can at least like what you're doing, don't do it. Because you being miserable, I promise you, it's going to wear off, and your customers are going to see it, your family's going to see it, and neither one's going to want to be around.
Right. Well, and then the other side of that too, you don't realize it until it's ruined you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Give me a couple resources that you absolutely love to consume from.
Well, I can't read, so that kind of goes out the window right there.
You stole my thunder.
I know. Joel was kind of jotting something down over there, and I was like, I know where this is going. That's how sad that is. So
it was like the soft pitch right there. It was underhand. I had it.
I know. Well, let's just be happy that you've got a pen today and not your crayon. So way to go.
You know
You're
what,
doing
Lucy?
good.
Thanks for stealing the football right.
That's funny.
No, honestly, for me, definitely I do. I am involved with, our church. That is one thing that I do. So I obviously read, the Bible and some stuff like that. As far as the message and the things that I listen to, I made a change about 2 years ago. The music that I would listen to, I used to like heavy metal and, stuff from lifting and working out. And, I used to think, oh, this is getting you excited. But really, I made a change where if my kids can't listen to that and they're not getting a positive message, then I'm not going to listen to it. It's amazing how much that makes a difference, is changing what you're listening to on a day-to-day basis. If you kick it to where it's something that's a positive message, or that it's soothing, I guess is another word, or just something that's not going to tear you down. Find something that's positive. And there is certain days after you leave the office, you're want to crank, that heavy octane type music, but really just, you need to have that positive influence constantly, because you're going to go through a lot of stuff.
You're not driving home listening to Incubus with the kids in the back anymore, huh?
I kind of felt that if I really wanted to let them listen to something really bad, I would just get Joel on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
That's a fact.
There it is.
Yeah, thanks. Feel the love. High five. Well, this is why the experiment with Brad is now promptly over.
Oh, it's my fault.
Always. You
gotta blame the ginger.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. You even stole my thunder there. I can't get any of my punchlines out today. This is terrible. Get cut off at the knees.
Oh, no.
No, it is though. It is the big side is really just making sure of whatever you're listening to is not garbage. Because if you feed yourself just garbage and garbage and garbage, eventually that is what's gonna come of it. So
kind of like my diet.
Yeah.
See,
well, I didn't want to say anything.
I did throw that out there before. Of course, Derek could throw that in.
I tried to back off a little bit and kind of just give you some of that thunder back, and so I was like, so.
Are there any podcasts or any books that you like to read that also help you with your business?
Mm-hmm. A while back, and it has been, obviously a couple of years, but one thing I used to like to do was I'd read a lot of coaching books and stuff too from football. I played football, and that was one thing that I could always understand, which is kind of truthfully where that whole team concept came from was, because I do, and actually right now I'm helping out on the small fry football too. So between the business and everything else, that was one other thing I decided, I don't have enough going, so let's throw this into it too. But it's great because you make that positive influence. But I love team sports. I do, because it forces you to work with other people similar to business. And so then you find where everybody's strengths and weaknesses are and put them in the right position so that they can help you win, which is why I'm assistant coach and not head coach. So you're welcome. I gave you that one, Joel.
Thanks. Yes. Don't you find it, though? I mean, I see so many times with business owners where they say, oh, well, I just open my checkbook and I just write a check to get that stuff done. And they're not giving their time, their energy, their passion to it. Don't you find it so much more fulfilling for you, for your kids, your family, for your team, that you're actually one of the coaches?
I do. It takes a lot of time. And, definitely anybody out there that's, giving in that way, honestly, all of us, definitely a round of applause on that, because it takes a ton of time. And it's kind of, we talked about it briefly earlier on. It's refocusing your energy so that you can do something positive, versus if you're always focused internally, you're going to eat yourself alive. You really will, because you'll nitpick at things. You'll find things throughout the day that stressed you out. Find a way that you can make a positive influence. And that's what we try to do. So
that's huge. Team sports.
Mm-hmm.
What has team sports taught you about business ownership?
It's huge. Even though it's hard, I think truthfully you learn more from a loss or losing than you do from winning. Really having my son and my daughter go through sports. My daughter's just obviously the first year, it's the YMCA soccer stuff. I mean, that's where everybody starts. So it's like kind of herding chickens, and just making sure they don't run off the field. I mean, truthfully, that's a winning game right there. But really just trying to teach them, when you do lose, or, refocusing that energy. Okay, what did I do wrong? How can I make things work better? How do we become better as a team? Finding those type of things. And obviously when you get older, not where they are, but sometimes that does involve with some people just don't fit with the team. And you have to make that call. And it's probably, and I've had to deal with that a lot through the years, and that is a tough deal to deal with. But sometimes it is. I mean, you're at that point, if they're not fitting, you're holding yourself back, but you're also possibly holding them back from something that they could be doing even better. It's just they haven't had the courage to do so.
Well, and you're holding the teammates back too, right?
Yeah.
Perfect example. I've been a hockey coach actually too, so I'm relating to you on a very specific level right now. We had to make a cut with a young guy from one of our squads in Oregon, and it was a tough thing to let him go. The weirdest thing is that next practice, after we sent him home, the team captain came up to us before practice started. The pucks are out there on the ice, and they're like, hey, no disrespect to him and all, but thank God you got rid of him. Do you know what he's talking about in the locker room? Do you know what he was doing in the locker room? Like, that guy was a cancer. And him being gone, like, we just all felt better. It felt different putting our gear on today. It felt different. Like, and it was really neat. It sucked. It sucked. But it was also to have that positive reinforcement afterwards was really awesome.
The same thing happens in our businesses. That's the phrase, hire slow, fire fast.
Well, and even from a customer standpoint too. I mean, let's be honest, no matter what you do, sometimes you're not going to make everybody happy. No matter how good you are at what you are, you can't make everybody happy. And that individual might be better somewhere else. And sometimes you have to make that decision and say, you know what, this is just not working. We can't get on the same page. Probably need to, go find somebody else. And sometimes you have to make that.
What are some things a business owner is going through that makes them say that visiting you is their next step? What are some things going on in his or her business? Talk to me about your ideal client and when they should come and talk to you.
Definitely right off the bat is obviously the great start too. After you kind of have met with, say like your attorney or whatever, to get the right type of business structured and what you're going to do. But at that time, it's time to find out, okay, I've got a plan. Now, how do I protect what I have? And that will change through the years. And you have to make sure that you're in constant contact with your insurance agent. You really need to let them know what's going on, because I know everybody thinks we know everything that's going on in your life, but sometimes we don't. So that's one thing to say, hey, I changed. I was doing landscaping, but hey, now I'm actually a full-time trucker. Well, there's a big difference there. We need to look at that. There's some changes. So that is one of the things. Definitely, it's once they figure out what they're going to do, that is time to bring it in. Also, the other side, if you've been in business for a while, you're not getting the customer service, or you feel like your rates just keep going up too. And sometimes you just want to review. There's a lot of people that they have no idea what their limits are. They haven't even looked at them for a long period of time. And a lot of people say, hey, I got set up with an insurance agent at one period of time. He retired, he's gone, or whatever the circumstance may be. I have no idea what I have. I have no idea if I'm covered. And there's people that walk through their doors that have had insurance in force for 10 to 15 years and have no idea what they actually truly have. And that's where so we do free audits. So as fun as that sounds, it's basically bring in your current stuff, and we will.
Nothing's free, Derek.
That is.
To sit with you.
I know. Which is a lot better than sitting with you sometimes.
And that's our show
I
for
saved
today,
that one.
No, nobody said sitting with the tax attorney was fun. I do believe the proctologist has a better reputation than the tax lawyer.
This will probably be my last time that I ever do this after we leave this room.
You listened to that whole podcast and you just now said proctologist? I was going to say something when you said bifurcate or bifurcate or whatever the hell it is. I'm like, I know. Like, tell us about a time you bifurcated. Is that in public?
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away from that one, Brad. I appreciate it. I think that is about out of time. Thank heavens we are at the end of this, because this one's going downhill very quickly. I think it's time to turn off the on-air light here and stick a fork in this pig. Oh, this was awesome. Derek, thank you so much for coming in and joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wow, folks, can't believe that was an hour. Yes, I can. I'm sorry for you for having to put up with it, but it was an incredible interview, Derek. Derek Rasmussen and Bailey Rasmussen from Insurance Unlimited. Give them a call. They're great here in Helena. They've got clients all over Montana. I believe you service other states as well, don't you?
Yeah, we do. We're definitely licensed in a couple other states. So yeah.
Okay. So give them a shout. Everybody, thanks so much for watching. Remember, we offer these interviews as a podcast called the Montana Business Podcast, and you can find that anywhere you like to listen to your favorite shows, across various social media platforms, on our website at mttaxlaw.com. We're also on Facebook at the Montana Business Vlog, where we post clips, highlights, and behind the scenes of our interviews as well. So you'll mainly get to see me laughing and trying to cover my face here as the jokes were just rolling through, which is pretty typical when I'm hanging with Derek. So below, you can sign up on our YouTube channel to see all of our amazing guests, none of which are near as funny as Derek or Brad. But now that Brad's in, he's going to be staying in, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to sleep without knowing that we have somebody who's actually funny on the show now. We'll leave that link for you down below in the comments. For the Montana Business Vlog and our guest, Derek Rasmussen, I'm Joel Silverman, Brad Ouldhouse here, and of course, our main man, Woody, on the cameras, keeping things real. Thanks, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next time.